Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you very much for watching or listening. Liam Hartery here with another episode of Presenting Champions today, joined by a very special guest, Vlad Krylov. I think I'm saying that the right way. A top dog FC bare knuckle fighter. Today we're going to be having a talk about his life, his career, and his journey through combat sports. Not only that, but also the mentality that it takes to reach a high level in one of the toughest sports in the world, bare knuckle boxing, one of the most exciting promotions in the world, Top Dog Fighting Championships as well. We'll also be getting into Vlad's career background, how he got into fighting. A nice mix of things today. So stay tuned, everyone. We are also joined today by Vladimir, just to make that distinction, his friend and interpreter, who has very kindly agreed to join the show today because we will be interpreting from Russian to English and back again. So thank you, Vlad, for coming on. Thank you, Vladimir, for translating, for interpreting, and basically making this possible today as well. Jumping right into it from the beginning, if you could, Vladimir, if you could tell Vlad, just it's a pleasure to have him on the show. Great to have him here, and I'm glad that we finally got this rolling, basically.
Владислав, Лем говорит, что он очень рад поприветствовать тебя на своем шоу, то, что ты удалил время и в дальнейшем провести некоторые беседы.
Тоже рад и готов приступить к вопросам, обсуждать.
Liam, he said he is very happy as well and he's looking forward to start the conversation and answer the questions.
Excellent. Well, jumping into it from the beginning, first question I have for him basically goes like this. Bare knuckle boxing, one of the fastest growing sports in the world. What inspired him in the beginning to take part in the sport? Simple as that. What inspired him to want to try bare knuckle boxing?
Владислав, первый вопрос будет о том, что кулачная лига, кулачные лиги разных бойцовских промоушенов набирают оборот, и что тебя вообще смотивировало и вдохновило начать этим заниматься?
Ну, я когда занимался спортивной гимнастикой, уже возраст где-то 16 лет наступил. Я с отцом начал смотреть Прайд, Федора Емельяненко, там бои, не бои, и меня мужское вот это животное чувство подстегнуло, и мне захотелось более чего-то другого, помимо гимнастики. И вот первое знакомство, так сказать, вот с этого произошло.
Liam, so he said at the age of 16, he was doing a sport gymnastics, and then he discovered with his dad upright videos from MMA, which he was looking for Fyodor Emelianenko. And since that, something inspired him to do some contact sport and combat sporting.
Excellent. Okay. And just to clarify that, was he competing in MMA originally? Was that where his combat sports journey began?
Влад, он спрашивает, ты выступал по ММА когда-то до этого? Что тебя вдохновило именно на ММА и какие у тебя бои по ММА есть?
По ММА, да, у меня есть условно один любительский бой. Это я вот когда там где-то 23 условно проводил. И я вообще как бы в дальнейшем после топ-дога собираюсь в ММА уходить. Ну, как всегда, как у всех мечтаю в UFC попасть. То, что как-то так вот.
Понятно. Liam, he said, yeah, basically the MMA, the dream, as most of the fighters, he got to join the UFC league, but he doesn't have much experience in MMA. His first fight was when he was 23 years old, and after Top Dog, he's planning to come back to MMA as well to gain his way to become a UFC fighter.
Еще хотел это добавить. Почему ММА? Просто это, как сказать, универсальный такой вид спорта. Ну, не вид спорта, драка можно назвать, где разными способами ты можешь как бы прикончить оппонента. И это удовлетворение чисто мужское. Владимир знает, как это чувствует.
Liam, so he want to add that the MMA, he getting satisfaction from MMA for his hunger, like his man's hunger for satisfy his ego or like just himself. And the MMA, he's preferring MMA because there's lots of different ways to finish his opponent through the different angles and different combinations. So this is type of feeling that he likes all about.
Yeah, that makes sense. Very cool. Okay. You're passionate about the MMA very much. Also, touching on Top Dog as well, Vladimir, can you ask him what his most vivid memories are of his two bare knuckle fights so far, like his favorite memories or his favorite parts of the fights that stick with him in his mind, if you get what I mean? Thank you.
Влад, Лем спрашивает, начиная с твоих кулачных боев, какой твой опыт был, то есть в плане в топ-доге, и вообще какие у тебя запоминающиеся моменты были в этой лиге, в бою или что-то около боя, что ты можешь такое яркое вспомнить и этим поделиться?
Блин, даже сейчас не знаю. Ну, скорее всего, больше я ощущал, когда вот выходишь на сцену, много людей, как это в Колизее себя ощущаешь. Как настоящий воин, гладиатор. Вот так вот. Это самое, как сказать, сильное чувство. А дальше уже в поединке как-то холоднокровно, уже сам поединок, я не особо момент там.
Liam, so he's not sure the specific moment from the Barak knuckle experience that he can remember and mention, but he said the feeling that when you going out to the cage, like in a Coliseum, like you feel like a gladiator, all that, the atmosphere, people watching you, and that feeling inspired him so much. But later on in the fight, he become cold-blooded and all the emotions going away. So the very emotional moment for him is going out to the ring, to the cage, like a gladiator.
The gladiator, very cool. Yeah, definitely. It definitely is. Well, with that, one of the things that I'd like to touch on here is about the mental side of combat, because in a moment we'll talk about his training and everything, but in terms of how he mentally prepares for a fight on the build up to it, so like in that week or in a time where it's getting close, if you get what I mean, because it's a very tough sport, and I think that people overlook this. People talk about the physical training, but they don't get into what's going on in a fighter's mind. So I'd like you to ask him basically how he's feeling, what he's thinking about on the build up to a fight, if that makes sense, please.
Влад, Лиам спрашивает, поскольку это не только надо иметь хорошую физическую подготовку в этих боях, но еще хорошую ментальную подготовку. Что ты можешь рассказать о своей ментальной подготовке вообще и буквально за неделю, за день до боя? Как ты себя чувствуешь и какие практики ты в этом плане используешь? Как настраиваешься?
В этом плане мне очень-очень сильно помогла спортивная гимнастика. Я выступал на чемпионатах России, попадал там в сборную условно и наблюдал, участвовал на больших аренах и на снаряде, где нужно он стоит на помосте, и нужно выступать, и много народу смотрит, и ты можешь с первого движения же упасть. Поэтому я, как сказать, воспитал в себе холоднокровие, право ошибки, что ты можешь допустить какую-то ошибку и не волноваться. Это самая сильная ментальная сторона, что мне дал спорт, спортивная гимнастика. И она мне помогает прямо хладнокровие в боях сохранять, я вообще не переживаю, даже не думаю, всегда настроен на победу, победителя вот этот настрой.
Liam, so he said that big part of his emotional, getting him prepared for a fight emotionally, is that his sport gymnastics background, because he was taking competitions in big arenas around his country, and he know that feeling when a lot of people watching you and you don't have a chance for a mistake. But he said to himself that he can make the mistake, that everything is okay, and later on he get used to get cold-blooded, like cold-minded, like without emotions, come to and do his job, whatever he's need to take. So yeah, his sport background helped him to fight the bare knuckle arenas.
Yeah, it makes sense. It definitely makes sense as you learn, and he's sort of grown into that, with the big arenas. Yeah, it's very cool because bear in mind, Vladimir, just for you, I mean, some of this I'm finding out as well because like I knew about the MMA, but I didn't know about the gymnastics. So it's very cool to sort of dig into that a little bit. Can you ask him next, please, about his training? And with this, I don't mind how you ask it, but I just want to get the feel for how he's adapted to different types of training. So obviously, once he was training in the gymnastics, he trained in the MMA, he trained for bare knuckle. How are they different, and how has he sort of adapted from one to another in terms of the physical training? That would be good to find out a bit more about that.
Okay. Влад, Леон спрашивает, как ты переходил со спортивной гимнастики на ММА и на кулачные бои? Что именно его интересует, это метод подготовки. Насколько она отличалась, что ты изменил, какие трудности ты себе заметил в этих трех дисциплинах и что ты из этого всего получил?
Ну, трудностей я никаких не заметил, потому что большой диапазон движений в спортивной гимнастике в плане биомеханики и то, что условно нужен тренер, который дает базу, и все, процесс сам по себе контролируется. Ничего особо не нужно, а попал кулачные бои, прямо почему. Это мой друг Мишаня, там силой, он в топ-доге 4-0 дрался, там тоже в хардкор сейчас выступает, и мы с ним как-то поссорились, и у нас получилась драка, там я хотел выступить тоже, написал матчмейкеру, что хочу с ним подраться, в итоге мы созвонились, он мне сказал, давай встретимся, лично решим вопрос. Мы встретились, помирились, и условно с этого началось мое выступление в топ-доге.
Ну а что, эти три разные дисциплины, ты что-нибудь из них подметил в плане отличия подготовки друг к другу?
Нет. Просто ту нагрузку, которую я на гимнастике в тренировочном процессе испытывал, можно условно подстраивать все остальное. Вот так вот. Никаких трудностей не создает, уже привыкшее тело к нагрузкам.
Okay. Liam, so Vlad said that basically all the basic aspects of his physical condition to become as an athlete he gained when he was doing his sport gymnastics. And later on, with a good coach, he started perfecting his skills in MMA and bare knuckle fighting. He said that pretty much the difficulty of the work it doesn't matter, it's still the same. You need to work hard, and that's it. And that's he didn't face any principal difficulties in any of those disciplines, but yeah, he going to do hard work as well. And yeah, top dog, how he become a top dog fighter, that his friend advised him to take a part in competition. That it was.
Yeah. It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, it might seem kind of obvious in a way, but it's still very cool because the gymnastics background is more unusual, for a fighter to come from that. So, like I know Vasil Lomachenko, he had a gymnastics background before going into boxing, and there are a few people, but it's not as common, So, it's just interesting to hear about that. Another thing to ask him, and again, it might seem a little obvious because when you watch the Top Dog videos, you can see the atmosphere there. But I'd like to ask him about the atmosphere, about the vibe they create in the arena. And the reason is it's a bit different to like a lot of other places, or from what I've seen on YouTube. Like the atmosphere seems like electric. You know, the crowd is very involved in the fights more than, I would say, more than some MMA fights or other types of things. So that's the concept I want to put over. I don't know how you want to sort of phrase that, but basically, if you could describe the atmosphere that they create at a Top Dog show, that would be really cool to hear about.
Окей, I got you. Влад, Лем спрашивает про атмосферу именно на Топ-Доге, потому что он видел множество видео Топ-Дога и говорил, что везде она отличается, и особенно сама публика имеет какую-то часть влияния на ту атмосферу в ринге. Что именно ты по этому плану можешь подметить, как для тебя это все выглядело, и что ты можешь сказать про атмосферу в Топ-Доге?
Да, я из всех вообще кулачных лиг, которые в России есть, топ-дог по атмосфере самая кровожадная. Как бы там вот это чувствуется, животная атмосфера. И они самые первые, кто начали условно бои в прямом эфире вести. И поэтому, выходя туда, чувствуешь поддержку людей. Это по мне самое главное, как бы, ну, впитывать энергию ради, как бы, ну, того, как бы, ну, ты не только ради себя выходишь драться, а для зрителей тоже какую-то красоту, чтобы посмотреть, даешь.
Then Vlad said that yes, he's agree, and he like to say that Top Dog is one of the first. He is the first champion bark knuckle championship league in Russia, and is the most violent place you can find through the all different organizations. And he feel a lot of energy coming from the audience and public inside the ring. So he say that he's fighting not only for himself and the money, he's always fighting for the audience, for the show, for the people, because you can feel it straight away. And
Yeah.
also he mentioned that you can feel pure like wild emotions, like an aggression and like natural animal instinct raising up inside him.
Yeah, definitely. And that is something very cool about the shows is the fights are amazing, but you know, just for your reference, obviously, because we both watch them, but the atmosphere, and I just thought, like, obviously I've only seen it with the video, but if you're actually there, it must just be like electrifying. It must be amazing. So it's really good to really good to touch on that. Moving on into one other aspect of the bare knuckle side of things, and then we can move. I want to talk afterwards a little bit more about his future with MMA and things like that. But a lot of the bare knuckle fighters I've interviewed say that basically that it's more painful, you know, than obviously like an MMA glove or a boxing glove or things like this, and you have to have that like higher pain tolerance. You know, most people, some people say not, but most people say it is. So basically, I'd be curious to get his thoughts on that, on the like the pain tolerance that you have to have for bare knuckle compared to MMA. I would say it's higher, but I'd love to hear his thoughts on it, please.
Окей, Лем. Влад, Лем спрашивает и говорит то, что в кулачных боях боль чувствуется намного больнее, чем в ММА перчатках. Каков твой был опыт и что ты можешь сказать по этому поводу? Потому что голые кулаки все-таки наносят больше увечий, чем ММА или бокс, например. Что ты скажешь?
Вообще боли не чувствовал. А в плане ментальный настрой, что меня только нужно вырубить, и все. Поэтому как бы, ну, вообще, после боя, да, условно чувствовал боль, там это опухшие, ну, руки тоже я ничего не болел, не повреждал, поэтому как бы не могу ничего сказать. Ну, я просто правильно бью, условно, кулак хорошо сжатый и правильно кости сложены, условно, от спортивной гимнастики. Поэтому я high level намного выше других в этом плане. И это ментальную уверенность дает мне.
Okay. Liam, so he said that he doesn't feel pain at all The only way he can be stopped that he'll go for a deep knockout. And yeah, so he don't feel pain anymore. But later on after the fight, of course, definitely those bruises, injuries, he started feeling his face. But during the fight, during the fight, he doesn't feel much at all. And he said he doesn't have any problem with his knuckles. He never had any knuckle injury because he's know the technique how to put like his knuckle in a right position, and he was doing a lot of practices. So in this case, he feel more covered, and he got courage to fight.
Yeah, it makes sense. A lot of them say that. A lot, just out of interest for you, a lot of them say that they only feel it after the fight. But they say more. And yeah, obviously you're not hitting as hard necessarily with the bare knuckle because it is always these first two and not these. So I can understand that. It's the more there's a more precision. Which is cool that we've got into that because it's a little different than what people think actually. You have to hit the right way or the hand will go. I mean, so many fighters have told me that. So moving on into a couple of other things and into the last few things really. I'm just looking at something here. Now, when Brad and myself were talking on Instagram and we were setting this up, he sent me that he would like to discuss a question regarding how the neurotypology helps to determine facial features and therefore already know what to expect from your enemy is what he actually said to me. He wanted to talk about that. So obviously I've included his questions because it would be great. I don't know what area he wants to go into with that, but if you could remind him, please, that he sent that to me and ask him what he'd like to say about it, that would be brilliant.
Окей. Влад, Лем спрашивает про физиогномику и изучение типажа лица и как бы его качества их оппонентов. Что ты подметил? Как ты вообще смотришь на людей, всех своих соперников, изучая их внешний вид, их повадки, ну и как бы их лицо? Как тебе это помогло и что ты можешь по этому поводу сказать?
Да. Ну, самое, что первое, это бросается надбровные дуги. Это говорят о импульсивности, инстинктивности. Потом, ну, как фактор условно такого агрессивного, напористого бойца, широкая переносица. Это очень такой напористый, продавливающий, ну, человек будет. И тяжелая челюсть, там, мясистый подбородок. Это, ну, человек такой, который будет постоянно идти вперед и не давать ни шагу как бы назад. А так, как бы, ну, это дает представление больше о психике человека, чем о его действиях. За действиями уже как бы нужно, ну, в ринге самом следить, а тут как бы дает понять, с какой он как бы, ну, импульсивностью там подачи будет выдавать, ну, эмоциональное, так сказать, состояние больше сканируется. Вот так вот.
Liam, so Vlad says that basically what he's looking at his opponents and what he sees in his opponents and how he understands their mental health and mental aggression and the mental strength of the opponents is that they should have like basically some of them had a rough nose, like rough strong chin and eyebrows as well. If they see the big splashed nose, so he probably understand his opponent, he's a tough guy and going forward. So, but that's the only mental part of it. But in a fight as well, he need to analyze how he move, what he do, how he fight as well. So that's the other part from the game.
Yeah, that's very interesting actually, and I knew there'd be an interesting answer there. But it's also quite useful for as a little tip for other fighters as well. Because when I do these, I try and put in or incorporate a few things that other people can use to improve their own careers as well. And I definitely think that's something that covers that. Now he also sent me because we just do these questions he sent me, and then we'll talk about the MMA, the future. And that's about it really. But the other question she sent me is he also said that he'd like to talk about the volitional aspect, why certain fighters lack aggression. So I don't, to be quite honest, I don't know what he means with that. But it sounds like an interesting question that he sent to me on Instagram when we were preparing for this. So perhaps you could ask him and just see what his thoughts are on why certain fighters lack aggression. I think is what he's trying to get at, but I'm not sure. That might be the translator with that one.
Окей. Влад, ну Лиам спрашивает о том, что это нехватка агрессии у некоторых бойцов, нехватка мотивации, агрессии, стержня. Что с этим может быть связано? Встречал ли ты это? Испытывал ли ты это сам? Что ты думаешь по этому всему поводу? Что вот нехватка агрессии в бою?
Сам я не встречал, поэтому это я наблюдаю со всеми бойцами вообще. Очень мало людей, которые, ну, могут, так сказать, вести поединок до конца. Просто постоянно, условно, боец проигрывает 2 раунда, выходит на 3-й и аккуратничает, не пытается как-то пойти на риски, рискнуть. Зачем он туда выходит, ради чего? Как бы я вообще не понимаю таких людей. Если ты как бы выходишь, какие-то цели есть у тебя, что ты хочешь достичь, нужно как бы идти до конца. Потому что тут условно бои это такой спорт, где ты, ну, короткий промежуток времени дерешься, и нужно максимально в этот промежуток времени выдать какую-то, ну, что-то показать. Так вот.
Okay. Yeah, so the Vlad says that he don't have and he don't understand such a things like a lack of aggression. He don't understand the fighters who giving up the fight when they're losing 2 out of 3 rounds and going up for a 3rd round only to finish this as quick as possible. And he don't understand that because he had some ambitions. And he said about the Barak knuckle fights that there's such a short time as a fighter career and the fight itself inside the ring. So you need to give all you've got, just go forward, don't think about anything. If you got plans, ambitions, your dreams, you need to go forward. So that's how he covers his lack of aggression with his motivation.
Right, I understand. That's actually a really cool answer. You know, in all fairness, like I said, I wasn't sure with that one what he meant by it, but it makes total sense now, and that's a really good insight into that side of it. So the last one of his questions to me, before we talk about the future, and like I say, that's the last thing really, is he also has said to me that he'd like to talk about certain misunderstandings in the training, like the approach to the training of people not following the proper level of the body and its loads. They don't follow basic training cycles. Now, again, when you're asking this, obviously we've already talked about the training a bit, so I don't mean to repeat that. But again, I feel that he has something that he'd like to share with us on that particular point of the people not knowing the basic training cycles. So could you ask him that one, please, and we'll see what comes back. You know, you can also tell him, by the way, that if you don't mind, that I like that he sent me some of his questions as well, because it makes things a little different and it gives like a different spin on things, however you want to say that. But it's actually good that he contributed some as well. People don't usually do that, so you know.
Okay.
Yeah,
sorry, can you repeat the main part of the question? What you mean?
Yeah. The main part of the question is, he said to me that a lot of people misunderstand the approach to training. They do not follow adequate preparation, and they don't know the basic training cycles. So he sent me a question about people understanding the training cycles in the correct way. So
I've got it. Влад, Лем спрашивает по поводу твоего вопроса. В первую очередь он хотел сказать спасибо, когда общался с тобой в Инстаграме, ты задавал некоторые тоже вопросы, предлагал какие-то темки, к этому готовился, если я вас правильно понял, да?
Да.
Вот, и он говорит, что непонимание подготовки к бою, этот момент не к бою, а подготовительный процесс. да, как грамотно построить свой подготовительный процесс ко всему с медицинской точки зрения и с физической точки зрения, как люди недооценивают все эти нюансы.
Вот насчет медицинской, в плане как бы у меня и возможности нету, и так, ну, я никогда никакие препараты, ничего не употреблял. Единственное, я знаю как бы то, что условно спортивное питание есть там, ну, добавки и прочие всякие, ну, вот вещи. А так, многие просто, я, получается, когда был на сборах, вот спортивной гимнастикой занимался, там ездил, олимпийские чемпионы тренировали, мужики-тренера, и наблюдая этот процесс, как правильно подводиться к соревнованиям, как и прочее, я это перенес на бои. Как бы, ну, естественно, в боях, да, там чуть-чуть меняется подготовка, но сам процесс формирования, он как бы один и тот же. И наблюдая профспортсменов, там, вот, да, тренируюсь с ними, я бы не сказал, что люди условно там как-то что-то вкладывают прямо, ну, с серьезным отношением, пониманием, как, не знаю, на детском уровне. Так вот как-то используют.
Yeah, so Vlad says he's coming back again to his sport gymnastics background and the camps, the sport camps that he was going to prepare for the tournaments. He used to train with the Olympic champions in gymnastics, yeah, and from them he witnessed it, not he witnessed it, he gained that experience how to prepare for the upcoming tournament. So basically, he got that experience, what the technique, the plan of training, how they plan their day, and he moved this. He uses planning for every like different type of sports, the same like MMA and bare knuckle boxing. So he got all that from the Olympic champions in gymnastics when he was being in the camp.
Yeah.
So about the medical part of that, so he's not rich enough to have his own medical doctor and look at his the blood tests and use like expensive steroids, all that equipment. But he's mentioned about the nutritions like a protein shakes, all different types of vitamins, which can help him be in a good condition and recover after the fight. So this is the other part, yeah.
That's actually very cool again because it's a good lesson for other fighters listening to this as well. You know, in terms of learning from the best people, people from the high level. It seems obvious, but it's a good lesson. And yeah, I mean, investing in your body. Obviously, I mean, you'd think that would be quite obvious for an athlete, but actually I've seen so many guys where they don't eat well, they're drinking a lot, they're doing all types of other things, and then they're going into fight, and it obviously has quite mixed results. So yeah, so it's not a question for you, but it's actually a very cool answer that he's given there. So brilliant. So moving on into pretty much the last phase of this talk, which is obviously the future plans. Can you ask him, please, in terms of we mentioned earlier about the dream of being in the UFC and a dream of competing in the UFC itself and everything. Can you ask him what his sort of time scale is in terms of how many more fights he'd like to have with Top Dog, at what point he'd like to switch back to MMA, and just for him to tell us a little bit about his dreams and goals, basically, for the next few years, the next couple of years, maybe, or something like that,
Окей. Влад, ну, поговорим о твоих будущих планах. Лему интересно, сколько ты планируешь выступать, какие у тебя планы, сколько боев в топ-дог, что дальше ты говорил про UFC, когда ты планируешь, как ты это видишь вообще, свою карьеру в UFC, может быть. Расскажи об этом побольше.
В топ-доге условно я как бы, ну, планирую провести где-то 3 боя. Один бой такой вот сейчас вернуться, потом там с серьезным оппонентом, и уже после этого попросить как бы за перстень бой. И потом, я думаю, завершить в кулаках карьеру, так как ММА мне более симпатизирует. И там уже... А по поводу ММА, у меня условно друзья есть, и на все лиги российские у меня выход есть, поэтому как бы, ну, начать карьеру в каком-то промоушене не составит проблем, а потом уже в UFC. Ну, TopDog я вообще, как бы сказать, использую как платформу для роста какой-то медиа. Сейчас популярны очень кулачные бои, поэтому, как бы сказать, я условно залетел, надо это выжить до конца и, ну, как бы и денег условно заработать, популярно это, и потом уже в ММА двигаться.
Liam, so Vlad said that he's planning to have 3 more fights in Top Dog because he having a gap right now about half a year or more, even more. So he's looking to start from a warm-up, later on ask from some very serious opponent, and he's looking for a championship fight to win it definitely, because he's looking at Top Dog that built his media career to have a big name, so to have a big media, and later on move to MMA because he got a lot of connections in MMA industry. So he's planning to do some career in MMA as well after Top Dog. So in later on he might move to UFC. That's his plans.
Amazing. Yeah, it's good to get a feel for the future plans. I believe his future is very bright as well. You know, there's a lot of big fights out there. There's a lot of exciting fights yet to come. So literally, the last couple of things, or the last two things, and then we'll wrap this up. Okay. One of them is he gave some, in a way, he gave some advice earlier when we were talking about learning from the Olympians. You know, protein shakes, vitamins, some of this stuff. Does he have any other advice that he would like to give specifically to other fighters who would want to achieve something, particularly if they're quite young, you know, like if they're just starting out or that type of thing? If he has any advice for them, that would be a good question.
Okay. Влад, скажи, есть ли у тебя какой-нибудь совет молодым бойцам по поводу того, как тренироваться, чему стремиться и добиваться каких-то целей в своих бойцовской карьере? То, что ты вот рассказывал, тебя очень вдохновили олимпийские чемпионы, ты что-то от них перенял. Можешь ли ты что-то также передать начинающим, либо молодым начинающим бойцам?
Ну да, в первую очередь это нужно быть самим собой, и как бы в тренировках, я считаю, самое важное воспитывать свой собственный стиль. Условно, тот же Тайсон Фьюри, там, он Донателло Аудер, как бы отличается по технике от стандартного там бокса, условно, как бы, ну, это привлекает внимание и как бы помогает самому себе раскрыться. И как бы, ну, ты свой собственный путь проходишь, не становишься кем-то условно. Вот такое вот у меня пожелание. Это, я думаю, самое главное.
Okay. Liam, so the Vlad says the most important to stay and be yourself, first of all, and later on you'll find your path, you'll find your style. The same like Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, they're pretty orthodox with their own style, and that's how they become very popular and getting a lot of attention. So what you say that you need to be themselves. If you want to start to become a fighter, you need to be yourself. You'll find your path, you'll find your style, and just need to perfect it.
Yeah, it's a good answer, man. You know, or like being authentic and everything like that. I like that. Good advice. The last question before we wrap this up is just what Vlad would like to say to, you know, his fans, his supporters around the world, and those people who are encouraging to him, whether it's online or in person or anywhere, it doesn't matter. Just what he would say to his fans around the world, basically.
Okay. Влад, и последний вопрос. Лем спрашивает, что бы ты хотел передать своим фанатам, всем по всему миру, что бы ты хотел сказать напоследок? Пару слов от тебя.
Блин, даже не знаю. Я не знаю, начинайте следить за мной. Сейчас начнется мой рост. Блин, я даже не знаю, что пожелать. Это единственный вопрос, который, как сказать, это немного даже в тупик. Я никогда не задумывался, что можно пожелать. Как-то, ну.
Еще я от себя добавлю пару слов,
Давай,
нормально
давай.
будет.
Хорошо.
Liam, so first of all, he want to say thanks everyone for supporting him, knowing about him. So he doesn't know what to say. Actually, he just want to say thank you and to keep an eye on him, keep an eye that because he's planning to reload his Harrier and now gonna be a new level. So keep an eye on him, on his media, his fights. Probably I'm not gonna surprise you.
Yeah, I definitely think they will. Well, the last thing for me to say is if you could, Vladimir, if you could just tell Vlad that the last thing for me to say is obviously a big thank you for him coming on the show, making the time for this. I'll say a big thank you to you as well, once again for making this this possible. So if you could thank him, if you could tell him, I believe he has a very bright future in the fight game. In the sense he has some very big fights out there. I think he'll go a long way. And just to thank him for his time, and I think the future is good. Just those two things, please.
Окей. Влад, Лем хочет тебя поблагодарить большое за интервью, пожелать тебе удачи, что нашел время пообщаться с ним, пожелать удачи в твоих будущих боях, в карьере тоже. Ну и просто, чтобы у тебя все было хорошо.
Спасибо, Лен. Тоже хотел бы тебе большое спасибо передать за то, что, дал возможность поучаствовать в этом. Владимир, тебе тоже спасибо за то, что помогаешь.
Okay. Liam, he want to say thank you. Thank you very much for the interview that you turned up, you found him and asked those questions. And yeah, I want to say thank you.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.